All right. Hey guys, I'm back. I'm back in Jersey. Not too happy about it, but I'm back here and back to my regular schedule. And yeah, hope you guys got to watch the ICTC 2025, which streamed. That was like a 6 hour, basically, 6 hours a day. How many of you guys got to see it? You guys see it? I'm going to have more links and stuff to the to all that, like on my Twitter and stuff. I'm going to be linking to it, and I have a lot of content from the behind the scenes, from Barcelona, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to be that stuff. I'm just going to be putting that stuff out, over the next few weeks because I'm not going to put it all at the same time. You know what I mean? But I have a lot of content. I can say Barcelona was beautiful. I'm in love with that city, and Andorra was beautiful. So yeah, what an experience! Special thanks to Whitebit. Make sure you guys check out, for those of you that could trade through whitebit.com. They're up there with Coinbase, and I have to say, from working with them firsthand, they're definitely a competitor. So if they manage to get into the U.S., all I could say is I wouldn't want to be Coinbase. All right. So, guys, anyone watching me? Who's out there? Anyone? No one watching me today? Oh, man. Come on, you guys. What's going on? I know it's Friday. So, today we're going to look at the NASDAQ 100, of course. And we're going to get into using the Trade Scanner Pro looking for trades. Okay. Hey, Nubs. Good to see you. Were you able to watch the show? Were you able to see the ICT 2025? It was a very interesting show. I need to improve the hosting a little bit, but the second day I think was better than the first day as far as my hosting goes. Hey, how are you? El Profesor. All right, in German. El Profesor in Spanish, but he's speaking German. Okay. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Anyone else out there want to say hello? By the way, if you want to share what city or what country you're from, it's always a fun fact. I am now streaming again from New Jersey, but I was in Barcelona yesterday. Actually, I came back yesterday because there was some confusion and I mixed up my thing and I had to come back. I came back yesterday. So I had an extra day there. Oh, okay. Well, Nugs, you got to check it out, man. When you get a free moment, check it out. It's very interesting. I had the link. If you just Google ICTC 2025. Hey, how are you? Here, I'm just gonna put. I don't have the link. ICTC 2025. If you just Google that, it'll take you. It'll take you to like the page, and you just Google that ICTC 2025, and you guys can check that out. Next time I'll put the link. I'll start sharing the link. But I'm gonna bit more. I'm gonna be putting out a lot of content, a lot of behind the scenes, the stuff that I captured while I was there. But what an experience, man! And I met some very good people. I'm actually going to try to see if I can do some interviews with some of the traders that were on the stream. And we could talk to them on here. Probably not a live stream; those will probably be uploads. But we'll get to know more about the traders and their styles and where they learned from and all that kind of stuff. And I can ask them more pointed questions compared to what I was able to ask them when we were, on that stage. Okay. So anyway, all right. And I missed all this time while I was working with them. Um, yeah, I have not been able to participate in the market. I mean, from Barcelona, I was actually putting on trades. I was actually able to trade from Barcelona, from the hotel, which was really cool, man, because I want to be able to do that. I was trying to trade from the pool, but I couldn't get the computer to work right. But so from the hotel room I could, but I plan to trade from the pool next time. So anyway, how cool was that? All right. So my point is, I missed a lot of this action, especially in Bitcoin. But since then, right, when we were doing ICTC 2025, we were fooling around back here, right? Because I remember the charts from when we were in that whole production. And since then, I mean, look where we are. Okay. This was the wave 4. If you guys watched my stream from Barcelona, and it looks like this wave 5, it looks like we're in an extension. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we got a consolidation right here. When you get wave 5s, you typically don't get consolidations after. So this is likely to squeeze further. Anyway, I'm just updating Bitcoin real quick. So this is this wave 5. Wave 4 is completed. Wave 5 has an extension in it. All right, we're likely to make the higher high. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about Bitcoin. I'm here to talk about the futures. All right, so let's change over to the futures chart. All right, and by the way, I'm back to my regular schedule. So we're going to change this to MNQ1, and we're going to change this. We'll start with the 20. We'll start with the daily chart because that's an important chart to begin with. And we'll expand this chart here. And guys, feel free to ask any questions while I'm doing this. And any of you that have watched, I know you watched the ICTC stream, but anyone else that watched it, let me know because I'd love to hear your feedback. All right, it was a very interesting thing, and I would love to hear what you guys thought of the whole thing and your impression. Anything you can tell me right here on the stream, or you can email me or whatever. I'd love to hear your feedback. All right, so anyway. So as you know, with the Trade Scanner Pro, and by the way, if you subscribe to the Trade Scanner Pro, it's made clear on my website, but I have to remind you again, there is a no refund policy, right? You have 14 days. You can try it for free for 14 days, okay? And if you don't want it, you must cancel within those 14 days, not on day 15. I get people, they get the payment goes through and they say, oh, I cancel, I want a refund. It's very clear on my website. There's a very clear no refund policy. I'm generous enough giving away the 14 days for free. I cannot be responsible for your lack of attention to detail. If you don't cancel, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not scamming you. I just can't be. People take advantage of me. You understand? I'm not talking about the guys here, but I got an email. I got to email this guy back. He wants a refund. It's like, hey man, you had 14 days to cancel it, and it's very stated, very clear on my website. So again, if you're interested in the Trade Scanner Pro and you change your mind, please make sure you cancel it before you get billed. Please, it's very easy to do. Okay. Anyway, just have to put that. So I feel bad, but man, I can't, people take advantage of me. It costs money to actually return the money. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. All right. So with the Trade Scanner Pro, and by the way, it's not a tool for beginners. If you're a total beginner, you're not going to get anywhere with it. I'm just telling you right now. It's a confirmation tool. And on these streams, you watch these streams that I do, my goal is to teach you how to use the Trade Scanner Pro properly so that you know how to use it. Because it's not something you're going to learn in a book, and it's not something you're going to figure out intuitively. You need to have some training, and that's what these streams are all about. Now, on this stream, just so you know, I know you guys know, but anyone that's joining me, like on Twitter or whatever, I'm actually placing trades in a prop account using Apex. Now, I am not an affiliate, so it doesn't matter who you use, but here's my TradeOvate account. I'm using TradeOvate, okay, through Apex, and this is the money in the account. Now, I have not been able to trade this since I left. So this is my first day getting back on this account. The goal is to reach the $3,000 profit objective. If I could reach the $3,000 profit objective on this account, and I only trade this account on stream, I don't trade this otherwise, then I get to the payout phase. Okay, I have to pay a setup fee, but then the money that I make, I can actually withdraw. They pay me out on the winners. And I believe there's an 80-20 split, right? I get 80%, they get 20%. That's a prop firm. So but there are many advantages to using a prop firm. And if you're a beginner, I think it's a great way to learn and build confidence, especially when working with size, because you can take big risks. And if you're wrong, you're only out the fee, right? $30, $50, or whatever. You're not out the thousands of dollars that you lose when you actually blow the account. So there's a lot of advantages to that. I'll talk more about that as we go. All right. Anyway, so let me know if you guys have questions. So back to the Trade Scanner Pro. I start with the daily time frame. So I'm going to show you step by step what I do. Using the Trade Scanner Pro, you have to come up with your own analysis. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. You have to come up with your own analysis. You have to figure out which side of the market you want to be on. You also need to know in advance what time frame you're going to work on. For this stream, I know in advance I'm working on the 30-second chart or the 1-minute chart. That's it. I'm not looking at anything else for trades. I know this in advance. So it would be a mistake to jump around like, oh, here, let me check the 5-minute, let me check the 15-minute. It would be a mistake to jump around looking for trades, especially if you're bored or something. So you need to know this in advance. So here in this case, I'm using the 30-second or 1-minute chart, which we will be monitoring. And before I can look for trades, right, because there could be a signal on the chart, but I'm not interested in random signals. The signal could be random. I need to have an idea of what side I want to work on. I'm going to show you how I do that now. So I begin with the daily time frame. And as you guys know, with the daily time frame, I'm only interested in very, very limited information. As you see, I have no oscillators on this chart. It's just candles, okay? Daily candles. So I want yesterday's low. I want today's overnight low. I want today's overnight high, and I want yesterday's high. That's all I want. That is it. Those are reference points for support and resistance levels. I haven't determined trend yet, but I just have some reference points from the daily time frame. That's the first step. You put the lines on your chart and you're done. Takes 2 seconds to do, all right? Because this can play a role in the decision making when we get to the Trade Scanner Pro. You guys follow me so far? If not, please ask questions. Ask questions. Feel free to ask questions anytime in the chat. Also, if you're following me on Twitter, please do me a favor. Please retweet my stream because it helps me out. I'm really I got some good tips and some good advice from some of the people I met at the conference about working, doing what I'm doing here. And let me tell you, as I figured, I'm doing a lot of things wrong. Okay, one of the main things I'm doing wrong is I'm competing in a niche that has too many people in it. So, and not only that, but they all lie all day long and I don't. So I really can't compete in the niche that I'm in. So I have to figure out a few things. But anyway, so I'm still going to stick to my schedule as I figure things out. But I just wanted to mention that. So this is the first step. Now, once you have done this, you have your levels, you have some basic larger time frame levels. Then we go to the hourly chart. Okay. Now the hourly chart, again, because I plan to work on a 1-minute or a 30-second, the hourly chart is adequate to get my bigger picture sense of momentum. And that's the Trade Scanner Pro is a momentum confirmation tool. So I need to get a sense of momentum. These lines, of course, are from the daily time frame. So these are going to be relevant support and resistance levels, right? Now, as far as trend goes, or price structure, which are synonymous, what do we have? I see what? Higher lows. These are higher lows. Let me get my head out of the way here. These are higher lows, right? This is a little higher high, higher high. See that? Higher low over here, okay? But no new high. So we still have higher lows. This trend I would characterize, well, actually, let me ask you guys. What would you characterize this trend as? The general trend. What would you characterize? Bullish, bearish, or range bound? Those are your three choices. How would you characterize it? And while I'm waiting for you guys to answer that real quick, I'm going to, press my little, if you're watching me on YouTube, do me a favor. My YouTube guys, if you're new, I know a lot of you guys are my regulars, but if you're new, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, press the like button, and subscribe. Click the notification bell, all that stuff, so that when I stream, you guys know these are free lessons, man. These are free lessons. I'm teaching a lot of valuable stuff here that I really should be charging money for. So, okay. So let's see what my answers are. Range bound. Okay, Nugs, that's a good answer. So there's a couple of ways we can look at this. The general trend is bullish. You know why? We still have higher lows. None of these lows have been broken. So, but the smaller time frame, right? Like this section right here, we can argue that section is range bound, okay? Because we haven't made the higher high. So, you say, okay, It feels bullish, but failure to make the higher high isn't my favorite. Right. So the general structure is bullish. There's nothing bearish about this yet. To even begin thinking bearish, we need to break support levels, right? That would be this overnight low over here at minimum. We haven't done that yet, right? So we can argue that we're generally bullish, but we're in this range. So what does that mean for my trade expectations? What that means is I should be expecting more from longs. I should be expecting supports to generally hold. And it's still now, because our more recent price action is range bound, I can also, if I want to be a little more aggressive on the short side and look for shorts up in this area, that's still within reason because we still may fail. We're in a range, right? So shorts could be a little more reasonable rather than avoid because the breakout is more likely. This thing, now keep in mind, while we have a little bit more of a short argument at this resistance area, like for example, when it turned here on the smaller time frames, you could have argued because it failed to make the higher high, you could have argued for a day trade short, right? Or a very small time frame, 1 minute short. You could have made that argument because you're near the high, right? If it's better, if you're going to short it, you're better off doing it up here than doing it over here. All right, does that make sense? But the retail trader, the inexperienced guy, he shorts it here because it's bearish, bearish. It's not bearish at that point. It's the momentum is bearish, but you're selling into a support level in a trend that's generally bullish. That's a low probability thing to do. So right now, I can expect for remember, I'm going to go to my 1 minute time frame, my 30-second time frame. This support level is going to be high probability for reversals. I have to keep that in mind. We're nowhere near that support level right now. At this moment, we're in the middle of the range. As you guys know, the middle of the range is a highly random area. We have an old resistance back here, which may act as a support right now. And as you can see on this hourly candle, we're getting a tail on the candle. So it's rejecting that area. Right? So there may be a minor support there, and I may have to use that for my Trade Scanner Pro because generally this thing is bullish. Now, the middle of the range, again, it's tricky. And if I have to pick a side, though, I'm going to have to lean on the long side because this thing is generally bullish. Okay. But keep in mind, if my suggestion would be if you're newer and you want the higher probability trades, because I'm going to go into this and I'm looking at lower probability trades. I'm telling you right from the start here, these are going to be lower probability. It's going to be more like 50-50 because I'm fooling around in the middle of the range. I'm just working with a larger bias, which is bullish, anticipating that we're more likely to hold and work our way higher rather than lower. But it's still like a coin flip here. Keep that in mind. If you are newer and you want higher probability, my suggestion would be to wait for a test of this low. The reversal there would be much higher probability. Of course, unless the market proves otherwise, meaning it tests the low and just breaks it like it's not even there. You get something like that and you're not getting the reversal, then you may have to adjust. Remember, this game is about adjusting. It's not about knowing the future and saying, oh, I can see the future. That's nonsense. It's about adjusting to new information as the market delivers it. Make sense? All right. So based on this hourly chart, our trend is generally bullish. We are in some type of consolidation. We are in the middle of the consolidation. I plan to work on the long side. I plan to work with support levels. I'm anticipating that they are more likely to hold. If that doesn't make sense to you, please let me know in the chat. All right, now, with that being said, we're going to switch to the 30-second time frame because that's going to be my primary time frame. All right, I got to turn the Trade Scanner Pro on. There's a signal there, right? We're going to talk about this here in a moment. It's a short signal. But I just finished talking about longs. I'm going to change this chart over here to the 1 minute. I'm going to remove these moving averages. Those moving averages just serve as a filter. I made a video about that a while back. So I don't like to have the moving averages on my chart because they can be confusing. But they can serve as a filter for the Trade Scanner Pro if you like that sort of thing. I'd prefer to keep clean charts. Less is more. All right. Now, as you can see on my 30-second chart, let me see, is this thing on? Yeah, the Trade Scanner Pro is on. When you get the Trade Scanner Pro, you have to make sure that you turn these functions on. You have to make sure to do that. All right. If you don't, you're not going to get you're going to miss some important information. Let me make sure it's on this chart as well. Okay, they're on. But the functions I'm talking about are trailing stop, show previous trade, and heads up. Okay, got to make sure those are on. Counter trend you could leave off. Now let's talk about the situation, because this is where things can be confusing and why I need to teach you every 3 days a week on how to use this thing. On the 30-second chart, and this is a what I'm about to point out here is a phenomenon only on these very small time frames. If you look at this, it says trend is bearish, right? On a 30-second chart, this trend status changes frequently. So you have to pay attention to this, because this is going to tell you, based on your idea, whether you should be in trend mode or counter trend mode. This right now says trend is bearish, which means on the 30-second time frame, the Trade Scanner Pro is looking for shorts. But as we just talked about, I'm not interested in shorts, right? So in order for me to get long signals on a 30-second chart, I have to do what? Let's see, for those of you who follow me regularly, what do I have to do to get long signals? This is a short signal. I'm not interested in short signals, so I'm going to ignore it. You don't take a signal just because there's a signal on your chart. It could be random. I've done my analysis. I've determined I want to work on the long side. But this thing is telling me that the trend is bearish. How do I get long signals? Who can tell me? Who can tell me? A says counter trend mode. Yes, A. Congratulations. You are the winner of, I'm not giving any prizes, sorry. But yes, I'm still in showman mode. You're right. I have to switch to counter trend mode. Okay? Because I'm interested in longs. Now, there just so happens to be a long signal that's been in play here for some time. Okay, no problem. I'm not going to take the long signal now. This signal has advanced. So my point is, do not be confused by previous signals that are still in play. Do not be confused by signals that are going the opposite way of your determination. You have to adjust the script to your analysis. It's not the other way around. All right. You don't follow the script. The script follows you. That's very important. Beginners just don't like that idea. Beginners want to just turn this thing on and just follow it blindly. You cannot do that. Okay. You cannot do that. It has to be your analysis first, and then this thing confirms your analysis. I have to emphasize that on every stream, because beginners they don't get this. And they sign up and then they cancel after 2 hours. This thing doesn't work. Hey, I'm not rich yet. This thing sucks. You're not using it right. And you're not going to get rich quick. Okay. There's no such thing. So, but this thing can really help you stay on the right side, ride your winners longer, and know how to quantify your risk visually. So, there must be news. 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. All right. That's a 10 o'clock candle. That type of action is typical of 10 o'clock candle. Stop this thing out instantly. I don't know what the news is because I haven't checked the calendar, but 10 o'clock is typically a news time. Also, 10 o'clock establishes the opening range, which is from 9:30 to 10 o'clock Eastern time. So our opening range is now established. If I go back to my 30-minute chart, all right, we will see the opening range. You can Google opening range breakout. And so this is our opening range, right? That's our opening range low. This is our, wait, hold on. Is this the new candle? That's a 10 o'clock candle, right? So this candle is now the new candle. So the previous candle is the 9:30 candle, right? Let me ignore the signal on here, right? If you see a signal on a larger time frame and you have not done analysis, do not pay attention to it. In fact, I'll turn it off. Ignore it. It doesn't mean anything. If you have not done your analysis, it's just a random signal. All right. Now, what I'm highlighting here, you see those lines? That's the opening range. In fact, I can do it with a rectangle. Let me show you with a rectangle real quick. This is the opening range. I'm highlighting here the previous candle. You see that? That's important because if the market breaks above the opening range high, that's a bullish sign. It doesn't mean you go long. It just means you should probably be leaning on longs. If it breaks the opening range low, that's a bearish sign. That doesn't mean that the market is bearish. It just means it's a bearish sign. Okay, notice how we're rejecting that minor support yet again. Okay, so back to the 30-second chart. All right, let me turn the Trade Scanner Pro back on. We got a heads up. You see that? I have to be prepared to go long. So if I go long, I'm going to be buying, my contracts is set to, why isn't this thing, oh, not a tradable symbol. What do you mean? Oh, because I'm on, I'm on Bitcoin over there. MNQ1. I'm like, what is going on over here? Okay. See, look, once again, there's a short signal. Okay, you see that? I'm going to switch my size to 2 contracts. This is my, what is that? My 1 minute chart. There's a short signal on it. Now, once again, if you notice, the trend is bearish on my 1 minute. All right, but I'm not interested in bearish. So once again, I got to switch to counter trend mode. What I'm showing you here, switching to counter trend mode, and look, there's a long signal that's been in play. I can work with that possibly if we touch the blue line again. All right, I'm not going to buy it now. But on that news, if you notice on that news, look, it retested the blue line. I've just been too busy talking. That would have been a valid trade signal because it aligns with the long. I'm interested in the long. This trade has been present on the chart for quite some time. The trade was generated back here. And also I can tell that because my trailing stop has advanced as well. My trailing stop at this point has reduced my risk by half if I had gotten long at the blue line, which is the entry price. So I'm not going to chase it. What I will do here is I will wait to see maybe we get another opportunity to go long by retouching the blue line, which is the entry price. You guys following me so far? So again, this is how you adjust. You don't go chasing things. You don't go jumping into trades just because there's a trade signal on your screen, right? First, you come up with your idea, and then you wait for the confirmation. As I pull up these charts, as we can see, there are long confirmations when I go into counter trend mode, and I'm interested in longs. That's why I switched to counter trend mode. I'm interested in longs for the reasons that I stated earlier when we had done our initial analysis. Does all of that make sense? Because you must go through those same steps every single time before you take trades on the Trade Scanner Pro. You must have your idea. You must be able to answer. Are you looking for long or are you looking for short? You must be able to answer that question. If your answer is, I don't know, I'm not sure, then you do not take any trades, especially with the Trade Scanner Pro, because now you're playing the random game. You're flipping a coin. We don't want, the random game is not going to help us here. We're looking for a sustainable way to beat the eval, right? Because what if you could play the random game and beat the eval in 1 day or 2 days by just throwing around size? But what good is that if you're going to blow the account in one trade as well? What good is, you're going to pay a setup fee and you're going to blow the account and you're going to have to start all over again anyway? What good is that? So I'm doing it the sustainable way. It's going to take a lot longer, but it's sustainable. And that's the word that you should be focused on, sustainable. Because then that means you can take profits out of the prop firm without taking massive risk. I think it's a great thing for beginners. That your chances of making money, in my opinion, are greater if you can do it like that because you can build confidence. The profitability comes from the confidence, not from some kind of special, skill or I learned ICT or all that nonsense. Okay. It comes from confidence. The confidence comes from having a strong grasp of how the market works and what you're looking for exactly. Okay. And when you can develop that confidence, that's really where it comes from. Not, again, people get all obsessed with oscillators and all that other garbage. You're just wasting your time with that. Okay, look, maybe we may get another test of the entry price here. Look at that. Right? It pays to wait. So let's see. I'm not going to jump in just because we're at the entry price. This thing may get stopped out. All right. So what I want to see is a reversal now. I want to see a bullish reversal. So nothing to do here but wait. You guys following me so far? You see how I'm getting a heads up. The green column here is a heads up on my 30-second. I may get a trade there. We'll see. The heads up means a signal is likely to appear in the next 3 to 5 candles. All right, so that may turn into a signal. All right, look, we touched the blue line. That's nice. and we reversed off of it. That's nice too. But if I'm going to take the 1 minute in this situation, I need to see a green candle. All right. I'm not going to jump in on a red candle. I want to see a green candle. How much time do we have? Okay. So that just closed. Ooh. See, just press the button and where I filled at 21,429. I bought 2 contracts, 2 micro lots. All right. Now, again, I made that purchase. I wasn't right on the blue line. It was, we rejected the blue line a bit, green candle developing on the 1 minute. I'm using the 1 minute as my reference. I have no signal on my 30-second. Okay. So I'm using the 1 minute as a reference. Now, here's the thing about that. So I haven't gotten the best price, but I don't have to take the full stop either. Okay. My risk on this trade, based on if I bought it at the blue line, my risk is 30, we'll round it to 38 points. That's not a lot. 38 points on the NASDAQ, that's decent. Okay. On a 1 minute chart, that's decent. My profit objective, if I had bought it at the blue line, is going to be a little bit more than that, 58 points, which is a nice profit objective. Okay. Again, we're working with 1 minute time frames here, right? So, but my price was much worse than the blue line because I waited for some green candle first. And I bought it while the green candle was developing, right? And it's pulling back on me now. So I bought it around, I'm going to draw the line. I bought it around here somewhere, right? That's where I bought it. Okay. We can take a look at the, we can take a look at the exact price that I got filled. Let me see. If I go to the notifications, where is it? Can I see it here? Does it give me my price? Let me see. I just want to see where I'm filled from. Average. Okay, 429. Right. So I was right. Right. So I drew the line at 428. So I'm long from 429. Okay. It's against me right now. The thing is, I can use that trailing stop as my risk. I don't have to use the full risk. Because if it goes to the trailing stop, why am I going to stay? Why bother taking the full risk? That's only 22 points. That's nothing. 22 points. Taking a loss at 22 points is like a win. Okay, that's nothing. So on 2 contracts, that's going to be like $80, right? Because it's 20 points is $40. So on 2 contracts, right, that's going to be $80, 2 micro lots. So look, it's fooling around. It touched the blue line. This could be an opportunity to add, but I'm not going to add. Okay, I'm not going to add like this. If you're aggressive, you can add one. I mean, this is my first day back. I don't want to be Mr. Aggressive and then cause problems for myself. You know what I'm saying? So we have this situation right here. We have this consolidation on the 1 minute. I'd like to see a consolidation, actually. I like to see that because that means the previous momentum, which was bearish, is losing the momentum, right? Which is great if you're long. And we're consolidating around a support level. This blue line on my 30-second chart, this blue line here represents that minor support level that we determined on the hourly chart. Okay, it was a previous high, and now we're testing it and we're consolidating there. Okay, so I don't mind seeing a consolidation around supports. It's just we're not getting any follow through. But theoretically, if this thing was short, if this thing was bearish, it should not be doing this. Okay, if this thing was bearish, now it still may become bearish, but if it was bearish, we should not hold like this. We should not be respecting supports. We should be breaking. This is not exactly breaking. It's just sitting there. It's got no momentum right now. So we'll give this, I'll be patient with it. Now, one problem, if you notice that I have on these streams, because I'm trying to be conservative because I want to keep the money. I don't want to give money back. I've been quick to exit trades and I leave a lot of money on the table. In theory, you really should be waiting for the trailing stop or something like that. That's the whole purpose. That's the value of the Trade Scanner Pro. But there are situations that if you watch my previous streams, I see like a candle I don't like and I'm like, all right, I'm out. And I do that because I'm working a prop firm account. If this was like a real account with your real money, theoretically, you should wait for the stop. You should give the Trade Scanner Pro a chance. Like, see, a situation like this, because I want to be conservative and conserve capital, especially for the prop firm situation, I'm more likely to blow this out. But, because I don't want to take the full stop. But I'm not. I mean, I'm taking just this portion right here, which again, 22 points. All right, I can handle it. I'm not going to act like a little girl over here. So if it goes to the trailing stop, I'll bang it out, and that's that. Now, again, this could be another entry opportunity. If I was flat, if I wasn't long anything, I'd be looking for another long here. I'd be looking for another long. But, I'm in some. I'm not going to add to it, like I said. But this could be another long opportunity if it reverses right around here. Let's see. It may not reverse this time. It may go to the stop. Straight to the stop. But maybe we'll see. Let's see. Let's let it fluctuate a bit. Okay. Any questions so far? Let me make this bigger so I can see what's going on. All right. See, look, it's giving us a heads up. See that? So that's a good sign if I'm long. And like I said, that's also a great sign if I wanted to add one. I'm not going to add one. I have two. But three is a nice amount of micro lots to have. You could do okay with 3. Compared to where we were like a month ago, the market has definitely cooled off. Because a month ago, we were getting like 100-point candles, like on the 1 minute, right? Or 150-point candles. Now we're getting much smaller candles. That's why the quantified risk is much lower, right? I remember we were looking at like 200 points of risk on the 1 minute. When I measured this risk like a month ago, if you go back to the streams, we were looking at like 200 points of risk. Now we're looking at, 40 points, 38 points. That's a big change. That's a very big change. So what that says is the market has cooled off. So in a market that's cooled off, the reason why that's important is because that's a prompt to add size. So really in this type of environment, 3 contracts, 4 contracts should be within reason. I mean, I'm on 2 right now. When we were in that wild environment, I was back on 1 contract. That's one way to adjust your risk. Because in those wild environments, if you're wrong, you can lose a lot of money, right? So you want to stay small. You want to be smaller. But when you get a more tame environment, you can justify more size. Make sense? So that's an important thing. That's why you have to pay attention to the average range. And the Trade Scanner Pro is a nice, easy way to do that because all you have to do is look at this and measure that. You don't even have to pull up that stupid ATR because the ATR is that little graph on the bottom of your chart, and that could be confusing. It's like, what exactly are you looking at, right? This tool uses the ATR to come up with these calculations. So this is just an easier way of looking at your ATR and using it to actually quantify your risk. So just for that alone, it's a great tool. All right. So, I don't have to take 200 points of risk. I'm looking at 40 points. Okay. So at 40 points, really, I should be throwing on 4 contracts or something like that. Remember, with the prop account, one of the advantages to using a prop account is I could trade on this account. I could trade up to 10 mini lots. That's 100 micro lots. That's a huge position. And I can afford to do that on this theoretical $50,000 account. It's not really a $50,000 account. It's more like a $2,500 account, right? In reality, because that's where my loss limit is. I with a real $2,500 account, I cannot trade 10 mini lots. I can't even trade 1 on a $2,500 account. In fact, with the margin requirements, I can't even trade a micro lot. I believe like the broker that I use, Interactive Brokers, I believe the margin requirements is $2,900 or something like that. It may have changed. I have to check, but it's something like that. So on a $2,500 account, I cannot trade 1 mini lot in a real account. It's ridiculous, right? Well, not with a prop firm. So that's another advantage. You don't have to worry about all that margin stuff, right? And you don't have to worry if you blow your account. If I blow this $2,500 account, what's at stake? I spent $60 because I spent $30 on one. It's a subscription. I spent $30 on one. I just spent another $30 to renew it. $60. If I can't handle $60, I'm in the wrong effing game. Okay? If like money's really tight for you, you're in the wrong game. be an investor or do something else, deliver food or something. Like this is not the right thing for you if money's extremely tight. You cannot trade because you're not going to have the confidence. If every dollar is like you're sensitive to every penny. So, it's like poker. You sit at the poker table and the blinds, if you sit there and you're not really betting aggressively, the blinds will eat up your stack and you have to throw away $5 or $2 every time, right, on the 2-5 table or the 1-2 table, right? You have to be okay with that. That's the cost of sitting there. If you're like, oh man, I have to give another dollar away, you don't belong at the poker table. You don't belong at the poker table, as Jerry Seinfeld would say. Make sense? Does that make sense, you guys? So I'm not picking on people, but I'm just trying to be realistic here. And the same for the Trade Scanner Pro. If $30 a month is too much for you, dude, you're in the wrong game. Let me do you a favor. Go do something else because you're just going to lose money. This isn't for you. You have a paper trade for a year, make some money doing something else, and then put. If money is like if you're like have no money and you're trying to do this, you get my point. I'm not going to keep harping on it, but you know what I'm saying. But I still deal with that with people. They're like, oh, $30 is a lot of money. All right, that's all I'm going to say. All right, so as I'm ranting here, the market's liking my rant. Look at that. I could say I should have put on 10 contracts. I should have. I'm joking. I'm sticking to my plan. I said 2. I'm sticking to 2. I'm not going to add now. So why don't you add now? I'm not going to add now. If I had plenty of opportunity to add, I had plenty of opportunity to add to this trade. Okay. And I chose not to. So now look, so what do we have in play here? Look, check this out, guys. Check this out. Where's my arrow? This is what? What is this? I'm going to draw something on my chart here. And I want you guys to tell me what it is. We have this, right? And then we have this. What is that? How would you characterize that configuration? Who wants to answer? And guys from Twitter, man, you guys from Twitter, you really should come over to YouTube so that you can participate. And what else you should do is you should retweet my stream, guys, on Twitter. Please do me that favor. Retweet my stream. It helps Musk, it helps him spread my video around on Twitter. Do me that favor, please. Retweet my stream. I really appreciate it. I don't care if you have 2 followers. I appreciate it. So guys, no answers? What configuration is this? This is a low, and this is what? We have a low and followed by a what? Is this higher or lower than this low? We have a low followed by a fill in the blank. I'll wait for that. Keep it going, market. Keep it going. Almost at the profit objective. I'll take it. I'll take it. All right. How much time is it? All right. I still got some time here before I got to sign off. I really got to try to keep this at an hour because I still have to. I have other accounts I have to trade. I got other things I got to do here. This is not the only account. I only trade this account for the stream. I have other accounts. Okay, so the reason why I trade just this account on the stream is because I want every single trade that I take to be documented. Right. So this is on a live stream. I'm not fooling anyone here. There's no trickery. There's no faking this. This is a live stream. You can follow it in real time on your account, whatever. And every trade is documented. See, this is what I mean about candles I don't like. Right. Remember I was saying before I get shaken out, I should see this candle, but I'm going to try to give this a chance. But I'm risking giving back my profit here. And I don't want to give back profit. But I'm going to try to give this a chance. This red column, by the way, is a heads up to go short. Something I don't want to see. But see, it may recover. Look at this. Now look at this. On my 30-second, this could be confusing. My 30-second, I have a short signal. Okay, and the reason why that short signal appeared is because I'm in counter trend mode, but the trend has changed to bullish on my 30-second chart. You see that? That's confusing, right? So what do? You turn this off. Right, you turn counter trend mode off, or no, you could just turn off the Trade Scanner Pro on that chart, so you're not confused. Do not be confused by that, because again, we're aligned with the original idea we came up with. The Trade Scanner Pro is not smarter than you. It doesn't know something that you don't know. You are smarter than the Trade Scanner Pro. So you use it to confirm your idea, not the other way around. That's a perfect example. So just because a short signal shows up doesn't mean that this thing's a short. It's just seeing some. We were in counter trend mode, and because the mode changed, because that change, the mode changes a lot on these small time frames. That changes a lot, so you have to be aware of that. On larger time frames, like a 5 minute, now man, on a 5 minute chart, you're not going to deal with that as much. Or on larger time frames, I may just blow this out. I'll see. We'll see what the next candle produces here, but I'm not happy about this because this thing should be at the profit objective, not giving it back. Okay. See, it's going all the way back to the entry price yet again. So let's see if I can get. I tried to give this a chance, people. I tried. Norm, this is why I like to get out. This is why I like to get out. I don't like giving it back. All right, let's see. Let's see where I'm at, because this is the NASDAQ, and I know the NASDAQ really well, and I know the games. I know the noise. I know it well. How much money am I up? I'm still up like 35. What is that? $30. All right, it's not much. I was up more. This thing is basically, I'm going back to break even. I mean, I'm prepared to bang it out. See, I don't like that. All right, I'm gonna have to say goodbye. All right, because I don't want to lose the money. I don't want this to, I had a nice little trade there. It turned around on me. I made $10. All right, $10. That stinks. I was up much more than that. Not a whole lot more, but I was probably up at like $50 or $60 or something. Right now, now it turns. All right, so I broke even on that trade basically. But here's the thing: I'm on a 1 minute chart. Right, this is a nice move. We should have popped up to that profit objective. We should have popped right up there, not this. Now we may get some more long signals here. What time is it? But I'm not going to take a second signal because I have to go. But this would still be a long. I'd still be looking for longs. So look, it's probably going to go all the way back up then now that I'm out. But like I said, I trade this very conservatively. I don't want to lose. I don't want this thing to be minus $50 or minus $100 because that sets me back, and then I got to spend more time, making the money back. You guys understand that? So on this account, I'm at $50,943. I still have to make $2,000 more to get to the profit objective. Now I know for those of you that are like impatient, you'll be like, dude, just buy yourself 10 mini lots and you'll be there like in 5 minutes. But that's not sustainable. So it may take me another few weeks or a month to get that $2,000. But we're going to watch every single stream and we're going to watch every trade documented. So if I get there, you guys will know firsthand that it wasn't fake. I see no one ever answered my question from back here. Is anyone still there? Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I can't see the chat. My fault. Let me go back on the chat here. At what point would you not take a trade because of, or is it probability? So, all right, so let me answer these questions. A, what point would I not take a trade? Well, if the trade isn't active like this, and we're like basically halfway to the profit objective, I'm not going to bother. If that answers your question, otherwise, if I'm getting signals on the side of the analysis that I've determined, I'm open to taking trades because the reward risk is always going to be the same on these trades. It's 1.5 to 1. That's the default reward risk. So it's not like I have to make those adjustments. I could make it 2 to 1. I can go into my settings and I could make it 2 to 1. Like I go here, right? The ratio. See the reward ratio? It's 1.5, 1 to 5, 1.5. I could change that to 2. Or whatever number I want, and then the orders will be spread at that ratio. But right now it's 1.5 to 1. That's the default, and so that's always the same. But I will not. So the other part of your question is, or is it probability that high when it retests the entry? So when it retests the entry several times, again, and if it reverses at the entry, oh man, I should have gotten out. If it reverses at the entry price, It doesn't matter how many times it tests it. If it keeps reversing, I'll give it a try. The thing is, if it keeps testing that, that's a problem. Like it really should not. You shouldn't see it testing more than 4 times. That means it's probably going to break, right? Because if that support is really there, then why is price still fooling around there? If it keeps testing it, that means someone's selling it. Okay, so maybe it tests a couple of times and then they get squeezed. All the shorts to watch their, the RSI guys, the RSI Ferrari chasers, they all get squeezed in this situation. So that's why I don't use things like that. Anyway, they shook me out. Like I said, I told you, I was, I'm likely to get shaken out. I would have gotten my money back. And at this point, I would have tried to hold this position. Another thing I could have done there was I could have blown out one contract and held on to one, and held that to the stop. The stop, by the way, has now moved up to the break even. If I had bought at the blue line, essentially this trade would be risk free. Now let me see what else you guys have put here on the chat. Failed low reversal confirmation. Okay, Nug says that. Hey Grigoris, how are you? El Professor, failed low. Okay, so you guys are calling this the failed low. Let me see what else you guys say. Lower high. Okay, no, that's not correct. Why not use counter trend at exit points? Well, counter trend is just for identifying signals and making sure you're aligning with the bigger picture and at particularly support and resistance levels. That's its purpose. So for example, we're fooling around at a support, but the trend on these charts was bearish, right? But I'm at a support in a generally bullish environment. I don't want bearish signals. They're going to be lower probability. I want bullish signals. So that's the purpose of counter trend. It's confusing, I know. That's why I demonstrate it in these streams. All right. Now the other thing was, so this configuration back here, the answer I was looking for was it's a higher low. We have a low followed by a higher low. Higher lows are typically followed by higher highs. So that's what should give you confidence. We got the higher high, but now it's failing. Okay, look. Well, I'm good thing I got out, right? Now we have a lower high over here. Lower high is not characteristic of something that's bullish. We're now back at the entry price. So this could be another entry opportunity, but the problem is, like as I said, it should not keep touching supports. What time is it? We're going into the 10:30 time period. 10:30 is also an inflection point, right? So we sold off into 10:30 right here. Here we are, 10:30, and we make 10:30 is also a news. Usually it's like an event time. So this type of price action is not unusual. It may stop out, look, it hasn't touched the trailing stop yet, but if I was in from that blue line, I would be breaking even here. You see that? So actually, I guess it's a good thing I got out now in hindsight because the market gave it back anyway. Also notice I was not in a hurry to get back in, right? I could have gotten, I'm getting back in. I made a mistake. No, I left it alone because now I have to wait for the next setup. That's another lesson. Oh, look, stopped out. So that trade touched the trailing stop and stopped out. If you had bought at the original blue line, it would have been break even. If you bought at I bought at this blue line, this trade would be losing money on me right now. I got away with plus $10. Yeah, it's not a lot of money, but at least it's green. This is losing now. I'd be in the negative right now, probably $50 or more. Okay? So there's no signal. And you say, well, how come you're not short? Because I was not looking for shorts. And should I start looking for shorts now? Nothing has really changed here. All we have is some momentum, the 1030 momentum. We're back at the support level. Remember, supports should generally hold based on our analysis from earlier. So at this point, what would I be doing? I'm still looking for longs, right? So I'm, this trade, there was a short signal on this time frame, and look, it's working. It went to the profit objective, but I wasn't looking for shorts. So you could look back, well, I missed it. This thing sucks. I wasn't looking for shorts. You're going to see random things like this happen all the time. And if you happen to take it short, right, then maybe it worked out for you. Look, the lower high, the signal was generated here. You had the lower high at the blue line, and that worked out nice. But we weren't looking for shorts. So is that a trade? Do I feel bad about missing this? No. Now, if I was looking for this, that would have been another story. Remember, the Trade Scanner Pro can be random. All right. So question here from A. If I read the price action is relatively strong since bounces off our entry weren't weak, is there a problem with that logic? Right. Well, no, that's right. So here, let me just put that. So A says, uh, if I read the price action is relatively strong, since it bounces off our entry, uh, weren't weak. No, there's not a problem with that because again, supports should hold, resistances should break if the market's generally strong. Right? Notice on my 1 minute, because I'm in counter trend mode, it's giving me a heads up to go long again, right? Around that support level. And yeah, we you can argue we broke some supports, but this market's not really, it's not really a spectacular break. Now, this may continue. If this momentum continues and we break this, clearly break that, and price starts working its way into this area like here, then we're likely, then this may be a short. And then at that point, I could start looking for short signals. Okay. But at this point, I'm still open to the long, and we may get another long over here. But I'm not going to stream. I got to go. I got to wrap this up. So I've been at this an hour. But if I was going to spend another hour here, I would be interested in this long signal and not interested in this short signal. So I would turn that off. Don't be confused by that. Go with the signal that you analyzed for. Don't let the Trade Scanner Pro confuse you. Turn it off. If that's, we were not looking for a short. If a short signal appears, turn it off. I don't care if it was right. Turn it off. Does that make sense? We're looking for longs. We're aligning with our idea. Now, if the market becomes a short, then we have to adjust. But it's too early to call this market a short. It could be turning into one, but it's too early. We need to break a support. Now, beginners, less experienced people, often make this mistake. They say, oh, a bearish trend. We haven't broken the support yet. So shorting this is a high risk situation. It may work this one time, but you do that 100 times, you're going to find out the hard way. It's a bad idea. Okay, like I found out the hard way. So you don't short situations like this. You look for longs. If it clearly breaks, then you look for the lower highs after that. Okay. This is also where the opening range breakout can be useful. Remember the opening range we talked about before? And by the way, we are not at the major support on this thing either. Remember, we were at a minor support. This is minor. Major would be the range low. We're not there yet. So you may be able to get some money out of a short if this momentum continues into the range low, but just keep in mind where you are, right? This is the hourly chart behind me here. So in this situation, what I want to point out, I'm sorry, it's not the hourly, it's the 30-minute, the opening range. So this is the opening range candle, right? The 9:30 candle. 9:30, this candle opened at 9:30 and it closed at 10 o'clock. We are at the opening range low. See that candle that I highlighted in there? That's the opening range. We are at the low and the market's trying to reject it. If we clear it, that's a bearish sign. But if we reverse at the opening range low, that's a long, potential long area if we get the confirmation. That's the beauty of the Trade Scanner Pro. Confirmation. There's nothing here. No confirmation yet. We have a heads up, but there's no confirmation. No long. Is that so I'm still thinking on the long side, but you don't see me taking any longs, do you? Because it's too early. And this thing may become a short. So 30-second mark. Again, markets change. Things change. Right? So maybe this thing wants to be bearish. Maybe. And if we continue through this support, we're breaking the opening range low. And if we can break that opening range low adequately, then shorts can be justified. But if we reverse, we're trying, as you can see, this thing is hesitating here. We're getting heads up all over the place, right? All these green columns. That's a potential high probability long because all these shorts are piling into this right now, thinking this market's a short. And if it's not, they're all going to get hammered. Okay. That's a high probability long. Keep that in mind. All right, you guys. So I'm going to leave you with that. Do I have any questions? Any questions? Guys, if you, man, I got like no one watching me here. This is why, like, I'm doing the wrong thing, man. I'm doing the wrong thing. I really shouldn't be doing this. Do me a favor, Twitter people, retweet my stream if you liked it. I know I haven't made any money today, but this would have been a stop out, and I was able to avoid that, as you saw. Why do opening range extremes have significance? Well, because the opening range is a statistically significant method that it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy because everyone's using it, right? So everyone's looking at that opening range, and and the experienced traders know how to use it. So it's something I would encourage you to learn. Learn opening range breakout. Now, people try to build systems and strategies around it. You don't have to go that far. Just understand what the opening range is and what the breakout means. You don't necessarily trade the breakout, but it gives you perspective on what side you should be leaning on. If we break that opening range, then we should be leaning on the short side. It's no longer a long. All right. But if we reject the opening range low and we get back, that means it's mean reversion. We're looking at going back into the middle of the range. So it's neither bullish or bearish, but it's mean reversion. So that's the significance of that. So I would encourage you to learn that. There's tons and tons and tons of videos and information on the internet about the opening range breakout. And I'll refer to it more. It's very common for day traders. Day traders use it all the time because it's based on the 30-minute candles. It's based on the market open, the first 30-minute candle. So obviously swing traders aren't going to be using that. Make sense? Okay, so yeah, so Google it. There's a million videos, but just learn the basic idea of the opening range. You don't necessarily, again, you don't have to build strategies around it, but it can give you perspective. Just like wave counts can give you a perspective, the opening range is very helpful for day trades, and that's what we're doing here. All right, you guys, so I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you for stopping by and checking out my stream. Again, I'm back on schedule now. I know the previous week I was in Spain. I was in Andorra, so I couldn't stick to my schedule. I was on their schedule. Now I'm back to my schedule, so I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, market open, and then I have my Monday analysis on Monday afternoon. And hopefully I could make some adjustments so I could get some more people to watch me. All right, you guys. So thanks for watching. You know where to find me. You can email me at mark@markpremarkets.com. Try the Trade Scanner Pro out for 14 days if you haven't, and make sure you cancel. There's our long signal, by the way. That's a high probability long signal. Make sure that if you don't like it, to cancel before the 14 days because there are no refunds, and it's very clear on my site. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world, and thank you again for watching.